Tesla vehicles can do a lot of things, and there's a lot more there than people realize. I've made a number of tips and tricks videos about that very subject over the years, but today I'm going to dive into a lot of the hidden features that people don't know about. Certain things that you maybe have to turn on in a menu that's not easy to find. So let's get into it. A lot of the features I'm going to mention today have nothing to do with driving, and only a couple of them require a third-party accessory. The majority of these are going to be things that come with your car. They're just a little hard to find. Now, the first one is a little bit of a tip for a few of these things, and that is to upgrade the storage in your car. Yes, new Tesla vehicles come with a flash drive included in the glove box, and there's a USB-A port built into the glove box for that very purpose. That is the drive that saves Sentry Mode footage and dashcam footage, and then if you're expanding from there by downloading extra games that sometimes don't come preloaded and other things, which we'll get into, you'll want to expand that storage. You also don't want this to fill up just at the wrong time. So I highly recommend upgrading to something simple like a Samsung T7 SSD. It's just going to be a solid drive that plugs into that exact same port and stays stored away in your glove box. That will help out with some of these things. But one of the features that doesn't automatically come all the way installed in Tesla vehicles is the Tesla Arcade. You'll see it right here on screen by clicking the three dots and going to Arcade. There are a bunch of different games, but what you'll notice is they're not actually fully available right out of the gate. Some of them require you to install them. And this could be frustrating because maybe the first time you want to play this game, it's actually not installed and you're at a supercharger far away from a good connection or something. It takes a while to install. So if you're planning to use these, and I think a time will come that you'll want to experiment with them, probably when you're charging somewhere, maybe on a road trip, I recommend installing these ahead of time. And it actually looks like this does require Wi-Fi, so this is something you'll need to do ahead of time at your house. Here we can see install right there. Retry install, pending download. So these now are all adding into a queue that will install, I believe, once it connects to my Wi-Fi. And it works similarly to when you add downloads to a queue within Tidal for offline hi-fi music downloading. Mahjong, I'm going to go ahead and install that as well. Beach Buggy Racing, that one's not installed. Yeah, it's interesting. It offloads a lot of these now, especially when you first get the car. So that's the Tesla Arcade, but then you have, next to that, the Tesla Theater. So the Tesla Theater has Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, and then Tesla tutorials. But when you first get a Tesla vehicle, you'll notice it actually doesn't come with Disney+. That will not be there. Now the reasons for this we don't need to get into, but there's a way that you can get this immediately to add into these icons and be there forever. When you first get your car, it won't be there, so you click the three dots and go to Browser. Then you browse yourself over to DisneyPlus.com, and as soon as you go to DisneyPlus.com, it will launch the app for it, and then it will forever live in that icon within your Tesla Theater. That's because this really is just a web-based app, but that's how you get it to pop up, and it's definitely hidden if you didn't know about that. Now, going back to the arcade, another thing people may not know about is that you can use a controller. This Beach Buggy Racing allows you to actually use the steering wheel, and then you use the brake when you're driving with this game, which is actually pretty fun to do. But you can also add a controller, and some of these games actually require a controller. And right here, it will tell you Bluetooth settings and guide you through connecting a controller. In the past, you could use a USB controller, but now I believe this is just via Bluetooth. But now, going back to the Tesla Theater, of course, you have these options, but if there's another service that you want to stream from frequently in your car, you can go via the browser to abettertheater.com. What you'll notice right here is that this website automatically gives you access to all of these things, including things like Google Maps. If you want full access to everything, including Prime Video and more, you do have to pay for that upgrade, but a lot of things are included by default here, like Plex. And then you'll notice if you scroll to the bottom here, you can click Go Full Screen. Essentially, this setup will work about just as well as Tesla's do with their built-in services, because theirs are all web-based, and this also is web-based. But while we're in the fun side of things, on top of the theater and arcade, you have Toy Box. And there are a few cool things that are in this now. For the latest cars, Light Sync, you can turn on to sync accent lights with music, and you can also have it match the album art cover. So you can see I'm listening to Seems Like Old Times by Leve, which is actually a track that I played drums on. And then when I go ahead and play that, it will actually sync the lights with that. You can see it right here a little bit flashing and stuff with the music. If you want it to be excessive as well, you can turn on Rave Cave, and it does max brightness, and that's something it will only do while you're parked. but that's kind of a cool hidden feature. I personally keep the match album art cover feature on all the time. I don't really like the sync accent lights to be on all the time though. Under light show, you can schedule a show here, but one thing people don't know is that you can also create a custom light show. You can click that right there, how to create a custom light show, and it will guide you through the entire process. It's definitely not the easiest process, and you need to know a little bit about what you're doing there, but it will tell you how to do it. If you got your car painted a different color or wrapped a different color, or really just want to look at it right here on screen in a different color, the colorizer is inside of the toy box. And it is funny because some of these features actually affect what you do day to day in your car. I wouldn't really consider it a toy, but here's where you'll customize that. If you got it wrapped in red or you got it matte red, you can drag it over to here. And now this car on screen matches what my wrap is. I can click through these. I can even have multiple on screen by tapping right there and it will save it. And then the default one that came with your car is always right here. Boombox is another thing that is kind of hidden in the toy box here. And this allows you to play your current media outside of the car. So if you're doing work outside of the car, you can actually really use your car as a speaker. It's not the highest quality speaker by any means, but it is kind of cool that it includes that. And then this is also where you customize the lock sound. Yes, you can do funny toy-like things like a fart, but as well as funny ones, it also has some pretty normal lock sounds. And then you can click USB, and this actually allows you to add a custom lock sound to the drive that's connected in your glove box. Also within the toy box, there's this thing called tracks that actually lets you make a whole beat here. It's actually pretty fun. I will say I had more fun with that than I expected, but there's also romance mode, sketchpad, Mars, which is something you can turn on here that actually transforms your maps to the surface of Mars, and then back to toy box here. The last thing is Santa mode, which you can turn on anytime or especially around Christmas. One feature people may not know about because it's new to Tesla vehicles is under the charging menu in settings. If you scroll all the way down, you'll see keep accessory power on. They say phone chargers, USB ports, and low voltage outlets remain powered after exit if the battery is above 20%. When enabled, it continues to consume energy even when no devices are connected. So you can toggle this on if you want to charge something while you're away from the car. If it didn't happen and you expected it to, it's probably because this wasn't turned on. Also in the dynamics menu right above that, there are two different deceleration modes that you'll see at least in the latest Model Y, reduced and then standard. Reduced is a little more like a gas vehicle versus standard is definitely made for one pedal driving. Now when you get this car, there will be services turned on that you can log into, but if you want to hide some of those or want to bring some of them back, the way you get to that is through the music menu, which is something that's a little bit hidden there. So when I have my music player here in the left side of the screen, I click these three lines that look like an EQ thing. So with that, I can adjust my EQ for the car. I can turn on immersive sound or not. And the cool thing is I can actually create presets here. So if I have a preset for listening to classical music and a preset for listening to a different style of music, that's actually really great to have and to switch between dependent on what you're listening to. But below this menu, you can scroll past options and you'll see sources. This is where you can turn on various things, including karaoke, which is another one of those fun features. For myself, I don't use Sirius, TuneIn, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, Karaoke, or Live One, so I have all of those turned off, and then it doesn't clutter up this menu. But this is where you go if you want to turn them back on. These three lines right here, and then you can adjust all of that along with your sources. Now clicking these three lines right here actually isn't the only place you can get to this menu anymore. At the bottom of the settings menu as a whole, there's a new audio tab right there, and that is where this is as well. Balance is also the place where you can adjust the focus of your music. So previously and in older versions of software, you could only get to those Bluetooth device settings by clicking this Connect Device button, but actually now it's within this overall settings menu at the bottom under a new Bluetooth tab. So they've added a number of things here that usually were hidden. They're a little less hidden now. You can still get to them in those kind of hidden ways, but there are also tabs here. Bluetooth and audio are two that they added like that recently. Now for a lot of these things, it might just be a good idea to go through all of the menus in your car when you first get it, and then also scroll down all the way to the bottom to see if something's there. For instance, at the bottom of the lights menu is where you adjust accent lights. At the very bottom of the display menu is where you can change between bar and PSI, or change temperature between Celsius and Fahrenheit, kilometers, miles, percentage versus distance, but also this one works by just tapping up here. But then on the schedule menu, there are a couple things that can really help you out with charging. You can schedule preconditioning and then schedule special times for when the car charges. And then you can change these and have them saved for different locations. So for instance, at home, I have it charging between 9 p.m. and 4 p.m. because those are my off-peak hours. But then when I'm away from home, it doesn't have any specific rules accordingly. If you always leave every day at the same time for work though, precondition would actually be a really great thing to turn on because it will automatically adjust the cabin temperature and warm your battery by a set time. This is something that can also save energy because it's not just suddenly needing to blast for that cabin temperature as soon as you need to go. On the charging menu as well is where you can schedule charging at a particular location that you're at, but many people don't know this is also where you can adjust your charge current. So sometimes you might plug into a specific charger that's working, but maybe it's drawing a little too much power from the car, or you end up tripping the breaker and you realize, oh no, I can't charge here. Well, a lot of times it's just because you pulled a little bit too much energy all at the same time. So you can keep charging there. You just need to reduce the charge current, and you can do it right here. Right now it's set to 48 amps, but I can turn that down right here accordingly. I find this to be quite helpful at certain public chargers because maybe it says it's rated for a certain amount, but then it just ends up shutting off as soon as you're away from the car, and it's really frustrating. So turning this down a little bit might be the best solution for you. But of course that means it's going to charge slower, so only use this setting when you need to. When you're charging as well, an option will pop up here to unlock the charge port, and this can be especially helpful at certain chargers. Maybe you're using a J1772 adapter and you go to pull out the charger. Oftentimes what will happen is it will release the charger handle from your adapter, and that adapter will stay in the charge port, and then it will try to close on that adapter, and it's just really frustrating. So instead what you can do is right before you unplug, just come here and click unlock charge port and then pull out the entire apparatus. This also works if for some reason the button on the charging handle that you're using just doesn't release on a normal Tesla NACS connector. Then as you can see, when you're getting ready to charge, this is where you can open the charge port. Then if some reason it hasn't closed on its own, you can press that button right here to close the charge port. Now, when you first get into a Tesla vehicle, it will guide you through a whole setup process for your phone. And that's because your phone acts as your key for your car. The main one, it's designed to be your main key, but then you also use it to stream music. And those are two different connections that it has. So under the Bluetooth menu, you'll see the connection of the phone that you have, or if you don't have one, you can click Connect Device. A good tip here is Priority Device, so make sure to select that for whichever is the main phone that you want connecting to Bluetooth via audio. Another hidden option in this menu as well is the option to reduce fan speed during calls. Climate must be set to auto. Settings will be restored when call ends. Basically, you'll just hear the noise drop a little bit when you enter into a phone call, and it helps with the call quality overall. So those are all a bunch of features that come included with your car, and I'll get into more in a second. But there are a ton of features you can unlock by setting up something with a third party. For instance, this is the S3XY, or Sexy Commander, Knob, and Buttons. These come from Enhance Automotive, and you have to install this commander, which takes a little bit of time, but then it adds dozens of functions to your car, like regen control beyond what is the option here on screen, seat profiles, strobe lights, and more. You can adjust all of those with that sexy knob that installs into your car in a nice way. And then there are multiple customizable pages that adapt automatically depending on the drive state. And this knob has haptic feedback, adaptive colors, and phone mirroring. On top of that, you can use these buttons that are basically wireless shortcuts for any option on screen. So if you want to add a physical button to open the glove box, because yes, you have to do it on screen right here in a Tesla, you can do that with these buttons. You can also do things like precondition the battery, which is something Tesla actually doesn't let you do manually. With these buttons, it'll let you do it, but for a Tesla vehicle, the only way for it to precondition the battery for supercharging is to navigate to a supercharger. They have it set that way to do it automatically, which is great, and for most customers, they don't want to have to think about preconditioning their battery, but if you do like to think about that and want that control, these can add that for you. One thing I see as well that a lot of people enjoy is that the commander can actually turn off one of the motors in your car. So if you have an all-wheel drive Tesla, they're both operating all of the time, and you can't turn one off for better efficiency. With this commander, it will actually let you operate as a rear-wheel drive car, and people notice that they actually get a lot better efficiency even though they have both motors sitting there. It's one of those drive modes that I'm surprised Tesla hasn't added to their cars, just a really efficient drive mode. But with this commander, you can do that. You can do other things like have blind spot highlighting with the ambient lights in the car. It will do auto frunk opening on approach and many, many more things. Here's the list of all of the features that they say that this can do for you. So if you're trying to unlock features and controls, or unlock every single feature and control in your Tesla, this is probably something you'd be interested in. I believe other companies make similar products as well. This is just the one that I'm most familiar with and have installed in my cars. Now, when it comes to the sound system in a Tesla, you'll probably notice it's pretty great, especially in the latest version of the Model Y, including the base model. It comes with their fully updated sound system. The base model of the Model 3, I believe, is the only car they ship in the United States today with a downgraded sound system. So the vast majority of Tesla vehicles have an incredible sound system, but you're actually not utilizing it to its full potential, technically, if you're streaming over Bluetooth or streaming through Spotify. It could still be really great, and the vast majority of people probably won't even notice, but if you want the best quality possible, you can do this specifically through Tidal. Tidal is a hi-fi streaming service, and that's kind of their whole angle here. But the reason it's better in Tesla vehicles is because you don't have to stream. You have the option to offline download particular albums. So here I've only downloaded one into this car specifically, Songs for Swingin' Lovers by Frank Sinatra, but you can see it lists it at hi-fi, and you will actually notice a difference. I've done it before where I've been listening to a song in my car, even via Tidal, and then I go through the process of offline downloading and listen to it again, and it's actually a discernible difference. So if you want the best audio quality possible in a Tesla vehicle, that's probably the best way I can think of to do it. I think you can also stream music through the drive that you have connected via USB, and if those are high quality files, that would accomplish the same thing. Now in Maps, if you're navigating somewhere and want to add an extra stop, the way to do it is pressing these three dots, and then you'll have the Add Stop option as well as Edit Trip. By clicking Add Stop, it obviously adds it first in the cube for the destination that you have, but if you want to add something at the end, click Edit Trip and then add it to the bottom there. The last option is something that's pretty cool, Set Arrival Energy, and this is something people may not always think about, because you can see right here, Tesla kind of has the default at 10%. So I'm going on a road trip to San Francisco right now, for instance, and I have the car navigating there with supercharger stops. It's going to plan accordingly for me to arrive in San Francisco with 10% battery. Maybe that is fine for me because I'm getting somewhere where I can plug right in overnight. But maybe it's not fine for me because I'm parking somewhere, parking on the street, or I don't have the option to charge anytime soon. I'll go ahead and bump this up. So then it's going to add more charge time to my stops to make sure that I arrive with a decent charge. I always like to bump this up at least a little bit, so it's not like the first thing I have to think about once I get to my destination is charging. So when you pull in somewhere and you have to valet your car, you can go to Safety and then navigate down to Valet mode. And this will automatically do things like cap the performance of the car, make a top speed, close the glove box and make no way to open it, and more. It's a nice thing to have turned on, especially if you have more of a performance-oriented Tesla. And I guess any Tesla vehicle has pretty great acceleration, so you might as well have this on. Below that as well is the option for pin to drive and glove box pin. Basically, it requires a pin for both of those things. So if you walk into the car with your key and everything, it won't actually let you drive until you type in a 4-digit pin. This is almost kind of the equivalent of two-factor authentication for driving your car specifically. If someone steals your phone or steals your key card, they can't actually drive the car because they won't have that code. At the bottom of the autopilot and full self-driving menu is an option that some people might want to have turned on, green traffic light chime. You can turn that on and it says a chime will play when the traffic light you are waiting for turns green. If you have a garage and it's a MyQ garage, you can actually fully integrate this and log in with your Tesla vehicle. So you go to locks and then go all the way to the bottom here, MyQ connected garage, link account. And it will give you a QR code to scan to go ahead and set that up. And then this functions as an automatic garage door opener. And you'll see the option pop up right here. Separately, Teslas can have this feature for pretty standard garage door openers. It just requires an upgrade, and they call that HomeLink. Now this next one is one I've talked about in tips and tricks videos before, but under safety as well, towards the very bottom here is Joe mode. And this is something that will turn down the volume of the car chimes. I always have this on and I enjoy it, but it's one of those things you kind of don't know about because it's called Joe mode. I think that's because the guy who originally recommended this to Tesla was named Joe, and he wanted quieter chimes so they wouldn't wake up his kids. Now, in the service menu in a Tesla is where it will tell you your tire pressure, but there are actually a lot of things you can see here. First is camera visibility. It will tell you if there are any issues there, but then you can scroll down and do things like wiper service mode. If you're changing out your wipers, that's something you'll definitely want to use. There are options for towing and other things. Most of this you won't want to deal with yourself. You'll want Tesla service or whoever's dealing with the car to deal with these. But there are a couple things at the bottom like camera calibration and battery health. I got my windshield replaced on this car, and I had to do a camera calibration because autopilot and full self-driving wasn't actually doing a very good job for about a day, and I was very confused as to why it got bad all of a sudden, and it was because I needed a camera calibration after that they hadn't done for me. Also, there's a battery health option, which allows you to run a battery health test on your car, but some cars this is disappearing on. So if you are genuinely worried about the health of your battery, you can check it out there. At the bottom of the software menu is where you can dial in your options for sharing data with Tesla, but one thing to note is you select the ones you want, and then you only click Accept Selected instead of Accept All, because Accept All will check all of them, even if you went through and chose ones you want to share and not. At the bottom of the navigation menu, you have the options to avoid tolls, avoid highways, and then include third-party charging stations within navigation. It will automatically show them versus if you want to stick to Tesla-owned chargers, you can have this option turned off. Now in my Tesla, my upgrades tab says I have no upgrades available, and that's because I already subscribe to full self-driving and already subscribe to premium connectivity in this car. But those are basically the two things that will pop up here. However, it's important to note that it's kind of hidden that there is a yearly option for premium connectivity. That will pop up on screen as an option for $100 a year instead of $9.99 per month. So every year, if you're going to use premium connectivity all the time, it will save you 20 bucks by doing it that way. But as far as I've seen, it's only available on screen that way. If you try to do this through the app and through the upgrades tab within the app, it will only give you the month-to-month option. So that's definitely hidden there and something that would pop up in the upgrades tab here specifically. You can get it for $99 a year instead of $9.99 per month. In the latest cars from Tesla as well, there's a seats option right here, and you can adjust certain things about these seats. You can even fold the rear seats in the Model Y from this menu, but you can also scoot the passenger seat forward and backwards from this menu. This is something people can do in the back to make more space for themselves as well. Of course, it's not going to operate if someone's in that seat, but you can adjust this accordingly. Now, in the latest version of the Model Y, the front trunk can actually operate as kind of a cooler. It's not powered or anything, but this space is enclosed and then it has a drain plug. That's something Tesla added specifically with the refreshed Model Y. So if you want to put water or ice in this, you can drain it afterwards. For a few years now, the Model 3 and Y have included powered trunks, but sometimes these open up a little too tall for people's spaces or garages, and there is a way to adjust this. Basically, put the trunk at the height that it should open to, and then press and hold the button in the back. You'll hear a beep that confirms it's actually saving this height at this specific location, and then it will only open that far in the future. So we talked about that commander from Enhance Automotive along with those other things that can add to it and control your Tesla in different ways. But there are a bunch of aftermarket kits that can kind of unlock certain things in your car as well. One of them is a screen swivel kit. This is an aftermarket accessory that will allow you to move the screen around, which is something Tesla lets you do in the Model S and X specifically, but not on the Model Y or 3. If you want to have a yoke steering wheel, you can swap that out as well. You can add additional ambient lighting kits to the car and then have it linked to the ones built into the car through the commander. And then you can upgrade USB hubs and wireless charging pads and more things like that. There are tons of accessories for these cars and ways that you can customize them. Even without those upgrades though, I hope that this was a helpful video in finding some of the hidden features in Tesla vehicles. It's interesting to see because there are so many features, it makes sense some of them are a little less accessible or something that people don't really know about, but either way, that's a bunch of them. If there's another hidden feature you know about in a Tesla vehicle that I didn't get to today, leave a comment below to let me know that and let other people know as well. Tesla keeps adding features to their cars, and I know one they're rolling out right now as well is a new low power mode that will automatically turn off certain features in the car when you're parked. So I'm looking forward to that one. In the meantime, if you want to see the latest Tesla, tech, and EV news, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.